My name is Justin Risley. Been a resident of Tucson for a little over 4 years now. I've definitely become a desert rat. I'm from the Northeast. I work at Native Seed Search. It's a nonprofit seed conservation that's based in Tucson. It's been here for just over 40 years. I assist with developing the resources to communicate the organization's mission, the impact of the organization. I help out with outreach and do in-person events. My background is in journalism, so I have a degree in journalism and then I have a degree in sustainable community development, which was actually sort of under the umbrella of landscape architecture and regional planning. So most of my mentors that I've been in touch with still were in that department and were always pushing for me to do the landscape architecture stuff, and I was considering a master's program myself for a couple of years, and then I moved here, and now I'm in this seed world, and that's been keeping me busy. Yeah, people find it impressive when I'm like I have a journalism degree, but I remember my first journalism professor always told me, he's like, you guys you're basically just educated bums. That's what you are. He's like, you're not going to make a lot of money, but you're going to know a lot of things. You're going to know a lot of people, and so there's value in that. And I was like, okay, I guess I'll stick with that. So, yeah. Native Seeds does have a couple of crop wild relatives. Like there's Devil's Claw in the collection. Chiltepin is a really significant one. I think we have about 32 or so different varieties of Chiltepin. And we've kind of have started establishing a small urban hub of Chiltepin throughout Tucson, and so we have like a couple locations in town. I think one of the Pima County libraries has a courtyard with some Chiltepin plants from us that they're growing. Exo Roast just started their new garden with Chiltepin. We've done a lot of work with schools to help schools get their school gardens established, and so you have the aspect of school turning an empty courtyard into a green space. Then you also have children learning that they can grow and eat their own food and understanding where that comes from. We're on the Loop, as it's called, here in Tucson. It's extensive paved bike paths, over 120 paved miles of path. The primary route goes along the whole perimeter of basically the municipality of Tucson. And so that it connects a lot of people to places, and it's good access. And so we're here today exploring just a small 5-mile section of it out on the Julian Wash. We're pretty far in the southeast of Tucson. So today we just took a group of I think 10 or 12 people out to survey the area. All people that just like to ride bikes and are either associated with Native Seeds or Watershed Management Group. So because we've been trying to partner more. There's a lot of potential for, we think, rain gardens and reintroducing some native species like Devil's Claw and some other pollinators. We're also trying to approach it with a less human-centric focus. And so by putting these basins in, we're going to have pretty plants to look at while we bike, but it's really going to benefit the species, a lot of which have been displaced by some of the development that we have. Tucson has been super conducive to how I'm able to access nature when living in the built environment. My neighborhood, in particular Dunbar Spring, is kind of through a decade or two now of establishing significant tree canopy and other native plants. It's a hub for all sorts of bird species and things. So I could sit right outside my house and see birds that people come from all over the world to sit and bird and see. Depending on the right time of year, reptile is one thing that I really like to do at night in the summer, especially along the Santa Cruz, is go out to do what we call herping, go see toads and snakes and all that stuff. And the fact that I can get on my bike, get on a isolated paved path, and can go looking at some of my favorite tailless amphibians, it just doesn't get much better than that for me, that accessibility,
Is it true that you have done the whole loop?
Yeah. I did it actually a couple weeks ago. So if you were to do the full perimeter, I think it's starting on the Santa Cruz near downtown, coming down this way, connecting to the Julian Wash Greenway, and then eventually you get on Rita Road real briefly, and it's a marked shoulder, and then you get on the Harrison Greenway, and that goes back north towards Pantano Wash. And then from there you go up Pantano, and then that connects to Rieto, and then eventually Rieto connects back to Santa Cruz. That whole loop's like 70 miles. I did that a couple weeks ago. I've done that a couple times.
How long did it take you?
I was with a group and we were really taking our time, so it took us most of the day, but when I've done it in a single swoop, I think I did it in about 5 hours. I'd have to check, but yeah. It's
Oh.
totally doable, and there's like stops along the way with bathrooms and water and things. But yeah, like even I'll be like in Midtown, Sam Hughes, and there's a family of javelinas. Like I'm biking, and there's a family of javelinas just like walking down the street, and like there's just houses everywhere. I'm like, where did you come from? But then when you take a closer look, there's all these arroyos and things, and that go through the center of the city because we're in a huge basin here, Tucson Basin, and they've always been here, and so they're probably just as disoriented to see all this. People are terrified when they see a snake, but I know there's other people that see a snake, and we all stop and we'll stare at it for 10 minutes. That's the spectrum of Tucson and our relationship, I think, with native animals. I really believe in using the bike as a catalyst to conservation and to get people involved with things. Like I think the way I could be most influential, I hope, is with bikes and getting people to ride bikes and meet people by riding bikes, and it does something to your soul. I feel like you're just a better person when you're on a bike. So if you're that better person and you're doing conservation work, really good things can happen.